On July 11, 2023, in U.S. federal court, Lina Khan, the British chairman of the U.S. Federal Trade Commission, was denied a preliminary injunction for the Microsoft and Activision merger. Granting a preliminary injunction could have effectively scuttled the deal because of the delay it would create. Later on in the week, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit also denied the injunction. A succinct summary of the case is that Mrs. Khan tried to twist and distort U.S. antitrust law to achieve her goals but was opposed by the rule of law, the will of the American people, and the desires of the global gaming community. Even Nintendo and PlayStation fanboys should want the deal to close because it would mean that Nintendo and Sony will have to work harder to maintain their current dominant market shares. It doesn't make sense for the US government to block the only American game console company, who is in a distant fourth place when including PC, from attempting to reach competitive parity with Japanese PlayStation and Japanese Nintendo. The federal judge's explanation of the denial of the preliminary injunction represents one of the most embarrassing moments in the FTC's history. The federal judge didn't even think the FTC would succeed in its case against Microsoft under the FTC's own administrative law judges, which is a process that many legal experts think is unconstitutionally biased. The structure of the FTC is currently being challenged in U.S. federal court. With denial of the injunction, the involvement of the FTC in this saga is effectively over. Congress could investigate whether Mrs. Khan, the British chairman of the formerly highly respected US FTC, improperly colluded with foreign regulators to block US mergers that she knew could not be blocked under US laws. There are also astonishing claims of other wrongdoing at the FTC that could lead to her impeachment. According to one of these claims, the FTC may have illegally pressured independent audit firms to conclude that Twitter's policies and procedures were inadequate. Soon after Microsoft and Activision won its case, the United Kingdom's Competition and Markets Authority and Microsoft appeared to restart negotiations. It appears that they had a pre-planned deal in place to resolve the CMA's supposed concerns, contingent on whether the FTC lost. This may have been an unprecedented action by the CMA to go back to the bargaining table after it made its final decision. The CMA was probably pressured by higher-up elements of the UK government to make a deal. This was after the CMA cut its discussions with Microsoft short prior to its decision to block the deal because the CMA was afraid Microsoft would propose too many remedies for the CMA's meritless cloud gaming concerns. It appears that Microsoft and Activision will have to jump over additional hurdles in the UK, but that ultimately the deal will be completed. I'm quite curious to see what would happen if the deal closed, but the CMA's bureaucratic procedures were not completed yet. In order to get the deal over the finish line, there are rumors that Microsoft agreed to resolve the CMA's concerns by selling Xbox Cloud gaming rights in the UK. That is similar to a remedy I suggested in a previous video. The CMA itself still wants to block the deal, so Microsoft needs to be on guard for anything underhanded. Ultimately, this transaction was attracting too much public attention, so the British government probably decided to continue its mission to undermine American businesses and American values in a less public manner. As I stated previously, a competent US president should at a minimum impose trade tariffs against any country that blocks mergers between two US companies or unfairly targets US businesses operating overseas. Surprisingly, the linchpin in Microsoft's apparent victory was actually the European Union. The highly political and gleefully anti-American European Commission approved the deal with minimal remedies. After the UK's CMA blocked the deal, the European Union's desire to embarrass the UK for leaving the European Union may have been stronger than its disdain for America, or perhaps the EU just thought they could generate billions in revenue by fining Microsoft later for some imagined reason related to the deal. Despite an apparent victory here, let's not forget the key lessons learned from this case, which are that our flaccid, incompetent, and corrupt American politicians allow Europeans to unfairly target American companies, and that the executive branch of the US federal government disregards the rule of law, is working against the American people, and favors foreign interests over American interests.